Welcome back to Engine Craft Garage. Today we're going to be finally working on this generator that I have here. It is a Powerboss Briggs Stratton 5500 watts, 7350 starting watts. I have no idea if this creates power or runs. The guy that I got it from said that he let it sit for about 5 or 6 years after using it twice. So let's start digging into it. Before we get into the video today, I just wanted to say thank you for everybody that has watched and subscribed. I just hit 100 subscribers, and to a lot of these YouTube channels, it's not a whole lot at all, but it's a big goal for me, and I just wanted to express my appreciation, say thank you, and if you haven't already subscribed, please do. It's free. And on to the video. All right, first thing I want to do is check the oil. See where we're at here. All right. All right. Oil looks pretty clean. I don't see any issues with that, and it's up to the last thread in here. So it is full of oil, so we're just going to leave it as is. No sense in changing it right now. Now, when I did get this unit, it was all covered in leaves and dirt and grime and spider webs, so I did give it a good wipe down when I got it home, so I wasn't bringing that all in to my little shop here. I did try pulling this over. It does have compression. I would assume that something that looks a little bit newer would, and he said he only used it a few times, so which we're going to take a bore scope and actually look inside that cylinder to confirm that it's a very low hours unit. Which one of these is working? That one. Still looks pretty clean. Looks barely used. This might just come down to a fuel issue. I've been sitting on this for, I don't know, it's been a month or so. Just haven't had the time to get around to it. And today's the day. So let's feed this in here, do a compression check. Now I do think this has a decompression valve in it, so we'll probably not get a very high reading. But if we got something around, I don't know, probably 40 to 60, be happy with that. So let me pull it over a few times. What are we looking at here? All right, so yep, right around 60 PSI. That's exactly what you want to see with a healthy engine that's got a decompression in it. So that's good there. We're going to check for spark really quickly. Let's throw that plug back in. Get you guys more of a side view here. You can see a little bit better. Actually, before we do this, let me look in here with the bore scope and maybe verify that this is low unit or a low hour unit. So what we can do is use the borescope and look at the cylinder walls for cross hatching. Pull this up here so you guys can see this. Look at the cylinder walls. Oh yeah, you can definitely see quite a bit of cross hatching still left. A little bit of carbon buildup on the piston. You can still see the markings there. So we'll bend up and look at those walls. Yeah, that looks great in there. Let me pull that out. I'll check for spark. All right, let's thread this in. The biggest thing I'm hoping is this power head works. There we go. This all stays on here. Get you so you can see this better. Turn the light off. Let's see if we got spark. Yep. It's not super strong, but it might just be my test light here. Plug back on. All right, now we'll just have to dig into this carburetor here. Turn that around. There we go. The reason I did get this generator was because I wanted something that I could run 240 off of, and this has that capability. I do not have 240 in my little shop here, so if I ever buy anything that, oh, that's too short, buy anything that requires that, like if I decide to upgrade my welder or anything like that, then I can just run it off the generator. This definitely looks like a very low hour unit. There is almost no debris in here. Air filter's very clean. So let's start getting some more of this off, get this carburetor off here, and we'll go from there. Take this vent tube out. I think this fuel is off. There is some fuel in there. It's probably bad. I poured some fresh fuel in there before I stored this. So hopefully that gets diluted down enough. Because if you got a little bit of bad fuel in here, what you can do is, if you can't drain it, you can pour in a bunch of fresh fuel, and they always say the solution to pollution is dilution. So you can probably run it just fine if you put in a bunch of fresh fuel. All right, what size socket is this? 10 mil? No, surprisingly not. Grab an 11 and a 12. 11 work? Yep, it's an 11. In here, take these nuts off. I have to take this choke lever off. Get a screwdriver underneath it and see if I can pop that lever off. I do have that 1970s, probably a 72, 73 Aaron snowblower that we're going to be getting into probably next week. I just didn't want to do it today because we just did a snowblower video, which that is up on Facebook Marketplace. Will hopefully sell soon. What is the problem here? There we go. Take this whole assembly off. All right, it looks like we need to take these out as well. Oh, some of that gasket came off. It's all right. Gasket looks fine. We just use a little bit of RTV and it'll be good. All right, so we'll probably need a really tiny, these are like Torx. I wonder if a really small socket will do that. This is a 4.5, that's too big. Here is a 4mm socket. Let's see if that will fit on there. That should do it. Hopefully. Yep. One long one. There's a second. Let's remove this fuel line. This fuel line off. Stuck on there. Come on. I don't like wrenching on these fuel lines. This one really does not want to come off. Pulling it this way. There we go. Got a little bit of movement. There we go. Finally. All right. Get the throttle rod off and the surge spring. There we go. Carburetor looks pretty clean. We're going to get it up on the bench and get into it and see if there's any issues with it. All right. Just 2 bolts here. Get a screwdriver. Wow, these are really in there. Grab a different tool really quick. All right. So this is actually a really handy tool to have. I'm not going to beat on this, but this is an impact screwdriver. So basically what you do is you set it in there, and if a screw's really difficult, you put it on there, you pound on this end, and this will actually turn as you hit in, so it doesn't cam out. It works surprisingly well. Should be good. That'd be like an absolute last resort. Man, they Loctite these in. There we go. There's one. All right, let me just give it a couple gentle taps with the hammer. Just going to use a smaller bit here if I can get it out. Come on. Oh, why did I do that? Anyways, just one big work. No, that one's too big. Let's see. That should be fine. A little bit of downward force. No. Let's try this one. Yeah, that is just messed up. Don't want to. So I got all these little burrs on here. Let's hammer this in. Really didn't think with this being this new, it would be like this. I mean, look how messed up that is. It's like these screws were Loctited. got the one out. Let's look at the end and see if there is Loctite on it. Looks like a very little bit of Loctite right on the end. Possibly, I'm not sure. But if it is, it's red, which means permanent. I might have to get vice grips. If I can even get them on here. Do that. There we go. I got it. So I'm gonna tell you right now, if you absolutely can avoid it, try avoiding it, because vice grips do mess these up quite a bit. I really thought this tool would work, but guess not. All right, let's sprung right off there. Ooh, yeah. Look at that bowl. There's definitely going to be some issues with fuel here. Let's grab some needle nose. All right, I'm just turning on the ultrasonic, trying to get some heat into it really quick. All right. You don't have one of these, I recommend buying them. They're super cheap. I think this was like $5. I always, I didn't do it in my last video, and I should have with the snowblower, but it's just a bunch of various tips. Usually these really skinny, tiny ones. I like to actually go through the jets by hand first before I put it in the ultrasonic, just to make sure, because sometimes the ultrasonic works great, but sometimes it could, man, everything is plastic in here. Sometimes the ultrasonic could cause, or I'm sorry, it doesn't exactly clean every single passageway out. And if there's a big blockage, it could, leave it in there. So here is the emulsion tube. I need a smaller screwdriver right here. I turn this without breaking it is the question. See, all of these are made out of brass, and the problem is once you start breaking stuff, it's no good. Let's see if I can get this gasket out of here without destroying it. This is actually a pretty intricate gasket. Slowly. There we go. There we go. I'll lay it down the way that it came out. Yeah, look at that. There's probably a bunch of blocked passages in there. Pretty interesting carb. Looks like we have another small seal here. I'm going to try to get that guy out. Let me see if I got a pick here. There's not really any jets to take out though, which is a shock here. There's a spring that looks like it got pressed in here. The jet in the end of this, but it's not something you can remove. So I'm going to clean this whole thing up with carb cleaner. Just because this is plastic and I don't know how well it'll fare in the ultrasonic with that Berryman's. So let's see if we can get this little seal out here. Might be hard plastic. Yeah, I don't want to mar it up because I don't have another one. This is a Briggs Stratton Nicky carb. Yeah, there's not very many adjustments on here. This is your idle screw. And other than that, there's no air-fuel ratio, no nothing. So that's wild. This still works good. But these pieces are going to be cleaned off with Carb Clean. Might as well put all this stuff back really quick. So we won't be using this again. As far as I know, hopefully we won't have to use it again. So let's get this stuff in the ultrasonic and get it cleaned up, and then we'll come back over here and just clean this off by hand. There we go. The whole thing would go in there. Yeah, sure. Whole bottom end. Let's turn that on. And let that sit for about 15 minutes. All right, back over here. Like I said with this thing, we can just probe this, make sure it's clear. It is, which you can see through it, so I really didn't think there's any problem with that. Looks like I really won't be using this after all. Thought I would be. This is very interesting. So let's get some cleaner here. I'm not going to spray it directly on it. Well, I might spray a little bit directly on it, but rip all this residue off. Then I'm going to gently blow this off with the air compressor. I'm going to gently do it because I don't know if that little piece in there is going to pop out if I put too much air on it. All right, clean the float off really quick. Generally, you don't have to worry about these plastic floats getting holes in them or whatever. You have to worry about, or less worry about them on, like, if you watched the video on the snowblower I had just did. Those ones have brass floats, and those ones are more of an issue just because they're like brazed together. So let's get this all put together. There we go. See, the bad thing about the plastic ones, though, is you can't adjust the float height. I really don't like the way that this float height is. I like to see them kind of even, parallel. This one just goes a little bit beyond that. So, all right, well, this is all cleaned up. Just got to wait a few minutes for the ultrasonic to do its job on the rest of it and get it all put back together. All right, got the carb out of the ultrasonic. Everything cleaned up pretty good. I'm just going to spray everything through with the brakes parts cleaner to make sure there's everything, is clear. Make sure there's no obstructions or anything like that. Ow. Come on, you gonna go in there? It was made for this can, I think. You gotta be kidding me. All right, well, that one doesn't want to work. Let's try another one. You gonna work? Try this straw. There we go. All right, and spray it down here. Yep, it's coming through the throat here, through that emulsion tube. You can see actually all of the little holes in there, that emulsion tube. And then this looks like, yep, goes through there. Not sure where that goes. Comes through here. Yeah, see? It's a good thing that spray through all of them because you can see the different color here. That means it's breaking up something inside. The ultrasonic works great. I just don't have an hour to the longer you leave it in there, the better. It's just sometimes you just are pressed for time. All right, everything looks clean. Let me go hit this with the air compressor again. Actually, I want to get this little jet here. Passage. All right. Hey, with the air compressor. And it looks pretty good. All right, let's check the bowl. Wipe this out really good. Bowl came out pretty good. All right. So what do we got here? We got our gasket, which goes on like so. Get that all pressed in. Very delicate gasket. All right, now which way does this go? This has a little piece that sticks down on the bottom here. So it's got to go in here some way to match that. Go in here like this. No, there we go. Matches up to right here. Perfect. Now, I don't think it matters what orientation this bowl goes in. As long as we get it on there tight, which, you know, should be a... Oh, don't want to forget the spring here. Oh. Now we're under spring tension here. This one fastened down. And then this one. We're going to put our test tube on there, which I'm going to fill with 2-stroke fuel. It'll smoke a little at first, but all right, crank down on that one a little bit. Crank down on that one as much as I can. Back over here. All right. I think there's a little bit of gunk around here. Spray that off. There we go. There's a little bit of gunk around this plug here. This plug is probably actually, a lot of times manufacturers don't want you messing with the air fuel mixture. A lot of times they will plug it off to prevent you from messing with it. Typically from manufacturer, engines tend to run lean, and running lean typically gets you more power, but it comes at a cost of heat. So if I had to choose between a lean running engine or a rich running engine, I would always pick a rich, because then you run a lower risk of things overheating. Engines they like to be warm. They don't like to be hot. So that's when stuff starts burning up. Cylinder walls start getting hot, especially on air-cooled stuff. Cylinders start getting hot, your valves start burning up, and that's when you start running into a lot of issues. All right, we're going to do the standard test. When it's down like this, I should be able to blow through it. When we're upside down, nothing there. You can hear it coming through there. So let's start filling her with fuel. Fill that float bowl up. Drained. Drained. Thirsty. All right, so it looks like we stopped now. Now what I'm going to do here is just put a little bit, blowing this just a little bit to give it a little bit of pressure. And when we do that, we're going to see if there's any potential leaks. Sometimes you can sit here and put fuel in it and you won't have any leaks. But when this is connected to a tank that has a few gallons in it, you're going to get roughly 1 to 2 psi of pressure on this, and that's when you start developing leaks. I don't see anything. Fuel went through, so it must be going somewhere. Nope. I don't see anything wrong with that. All right, let's pop this off here. There we go. And dump some of this fuel out. All right. Let's get this hooked back up and see if we got a runner. All right, so the gasket stayed on here. It looks fine. Let's get our fuel rod hooked back up, or our throttle rod, and then our anti-surge spring. Looks good there. These rods back in. Thread them first. Good to go there. Connect our fuel line. Come on. As I said I'm going to do before, I'm going to throw a little bit of RTV on here to get this gasket. I don't have another gasket, otherwise I would just replace it. I don't have another one, so we're going to roll with a little bit of room temperature vulcanization cream. All right, I didn't put it on there I put it just a very, very thin layer on there, just so this gasket will stick, essentially. There we go. Pop this on. So I always say, you gotta work with what you got. Not everybody's in the predicament where they can just afford to buy brand new parts, especially in today's economy. So, I mean, this gasket's probably only a few dollars, but if you're trying to get a machine running and you can't spare that few dollars, you know, people come up with creative ways to get things to run. I've seen a lot of crazy ingenuity out of, you know, things like that. And that's, you know, that's where ingenuity is bred. All right, that should be good there. So choke is... Do I gotta spin the choke? Yeah, I gotta turn this choke lever to get it to line up. There we go. All right, pop this filter in, which looks brand new. A little bit of crud in here. Other than that, it looks pretty good. Oh. All right. Grab my couple screws. And grab my socket to put this on with. Wherever that may be. Thought I kept it over here. That's not it. There it is. Found it. Good. Reconnect our breather hose. If it wants to go in there, come on. The carb should be full of fuel, so shouldn't need a few seconds to prime. That's on already. It's on choke. Let's move this over by the door so when it starts up, if it starts smoking, it's going outside the shop. All right, here we go. Surging a little bit, but oh, that's why. I forgot to turn the fuel on. My bad. We're going to come over here. I'm going to get it restarted, and we're going to check the current. See what we're putting out. On these newer units, they usually have an AVR, which is an automatic voltage regulator. If you go back some years, they used to have just a bridge rectifier. Now, I'm no electrician or anything like that, but I do know a little bit about these machines. Let's put it on choke again. Not bad. Apply a little bit of a load to it. Overall, it runs pretty good. It's got a little bit of a surging issue. Might just have to work that out with, some runtime, really break it in a little bit more. It's putting out good voltage. I don't really have anything in here that's huge on amp or on watts as far as a power draw, but it is putting out a good amount of power. Yeah, I thought I had an electric heater in here, but I don't. But other than that, it should work well. This one's definitely a lot more powerful than my other generator that I have, which is this Sportsman. It's only a 2000 surge watt. It's 1400 running watts, which isn't very much. It's great for camping and stuff like that. Then next to that is my Ready heater. That is a diesel kerosene heater that I use to heat this place. And that is actually the most efficient way that I've found, other than my little diesel heater here. I use my other one, the diesel kerosene heater, to get it warmed up, and then this kind of maintains it. It's great for, this is a 16 by 16 shop, and this does pretty well. I like this one just because it sips on fuel, whereas the other one kind of goes through fuel a little bit quicker. If I fill up this tank, this will run for about 9 hours on medium. So it's not too bad. It's about 1.5 gallons of diesel. But with this, if I got, for instance, a big electric heater, this could run, or at least warm it up in here. So I think everything is all functional. I just got to get that little surge issue figured out, and I think we're good to go. The snowblower is still here from the last video, and the steel, I have those both up on Facebook Marketplace. Hopefully it will sell soon. And then if you did watch my trailer wiring video, I did end up putting it all in conduit, just so it's not exposed. And then the project coming up is going to be this Ariens 6 horsepower snowblower, which this is the one that I'm going to be keeping for my house because it is a 2-stage, just straight gas, 4-stroke. I don't mind mixing gas, but if I don't have to, it just makes it easier than doing it with this one. Plus, this is only a single stage. So it'll get through, you know, most snow, but for where I live, I have a large driveway, and I think that will do better. Thanks for watching another episode of EngineCraft. Happy you guys stayed and watched the whole video. I got other projects coming up, as I said. New video comes out every Friday. I really appreciate all of you guys watching and taking the time out of your day to support me and my channel. It means a lot to me, so thank you. And thanks again for watching.